Hello everybody, welcome back to another video of You're So Worth It. My name is Tim, I'm an addictions counselor.
And my name's Terry, I'm a licensed clinical social worker.
So it's great to be back again, it's great to be doing what we're doing, it's great to be plugging into the stream of life, so to say, and just passing the message, which we're all very capable of. It's just, it's just a wonderful thing. So what's the wonderful topic for today?
Our topic for today is change your thinking. We've done a couple topics that kind of are similar as far as like how do you find happiness, tackling the messengers in your life. So this is kind of more of a tool that kind of goes along with some other topics that we've had in the past. And we're going to start out with some of the things that, I guess let me touch on what we're talking about when I say change your thinking. It could be anything from any kind of negative thinking pattern that you have that holds you back from your really purpose in life, maybe getting over hurdles in your life, maybe accomplishing things that you want, keeping you from negative experiences and negative relationships, just any kind of thinking patterns that aren't, allowing you to reach your potential is kind of where we're going with this. So the first thing we're going to talk about is those false messages that you have in your mind because of, usually it's, a message that's not true. So when you're trying to change your thinking, one of the first things you do is tackle your thought pattern. So looking at your thoughts and trying to find out, is this a false belief or is it really true? So looking at the facts and not just what your mind is telling you. Do you want to touch on false beliefs and how you tackle those?
Sure, that's the mind's job. It's constantly creating things. It's constantly coming up with different ideas. It's constantly coming up with insecurities. It's constantly coming up with doubts, compromise. It's like its job almost, or actually, in a lot of cases, especially if your thinking's not serving you well, its job is to protect you, and it never allows you to fly, so to say. You always get to the edge, and you stop. You get to the edge, you doubt yourself. So, these false beliefs are very detrimental to a person's well-being.
Yeah, and that leads us to reality. So it kind of goes together. So challenge your false beliefs with what's really going on. So be able to identify where this thought is coming from, and then look at what's real. And even jotting this down, there's maps and all kinds of different ways to do this if you're doing it in therapy. But it's really, challenging those false beliefs and looking at the reality. Even if it takes someone else, to maybe communicate with and have them, what do you think of this? And have someone's feedback and help you to see, that's not the reality. It's what your mind is saying, but it might not be true.
Yeah. When I'm working with clients, one of the exercises that I one of the exercises that I teach them is when they're doubting something, when their reality is a bit skewed, when it's a bit distorted. They say something to me, and I ask them, well, did you stop? Because they all know what I mean by that, because stop, S-T-O-P, if you break it down, the S literally means for stop. The T stands for take 2 or 3 breaths. The O stands for, because once you get to 2 or 3 breaths, once you get to that point and stop, you'll begin to be able to observe. So the O is for observe. And when I can observe something, when I can observe something that's making me uncomfortable, it helps me to tap into my reality more. And then once I can get into my observation stage of stop, it allows me to look at what's going on from a reflective mindset, not a reactive mindset. And once I get to the O and observe what's really going on, I think that's a better representation of the reality. And then that P, for me, it's prayer, because this whole thing is about God. So stop, S-T-O-P. The S is for literally stop. The T is to take 2 or 3 breaths. The O is to observe, and the P is to go into prayer and give thanks. This very simple little process helps me have a better understanding of the reality.
I love that tool. Because it leads us right into positive And this is kind of, my example will be the person that says, everything bad always happens to me. I have bad luck. Most likely I'm going to be the last person in line. Most likely my car won't start today. Like, something's going to be lost. It'll be me. Like, my day starts out good, but then it always falls apart, and it's being able to look at those little things, because they happen to everyone, right? Everybody has things in their life, in their day, that just don't go right. But it's how can you take a positive spin on those little irritating, negative things that happen to all of us? How can you look at it as, well, it made me take a breath and step back. Maybe what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to help somebody else one day? So, it's not that you always have negative things happening to you. It's that you're focusing on the negative part of everything in your day, instead of trying to take a positive spin on it. And how can you learn from the experience? How can you take a step back? Maybe, there's all kinds of ways to turn negative things into positive thinking. So that's kind of another tool.
And then you have a lot of people always say, well, there's, you have it better than a lot of other people. A lot of people have it worse than you. And I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of that, because that might not be the person, Terry and I, that might not be their reality. So, we gotta change the thinking. We have to challenge our thinking, and there's ways to change, from a negative mindset to a positive mindset. People, well, at least the cup is half full, and then somebody else says, well, at least the cup is half empty. How about if we just look at it, because it's all perspective, how about we just look at it and be thankful that there's something in it?
True. We're going to end with surround yourself with love, because that's also, you've got to have support. Where are you what are you filling your mind with? What are you filling your mind with? Are you filling it with love, positivity? Are you surrounding yourself with people that will lift you up and encourage you? And I was thinking of this earlier. It's kind of like, there's good coaches and there's bad coaches. There's coaches that will see that athlete that's not quite there, but they know the potential is there, the work ethic is there, and all they need is just some encouragement, some, positive reinforcement, some tools, and that athlete's going to thrive. Then there's other coaches that may, not good coaches, that may see that person as a weak link and is totally saying, you got to do better, you're not working hard enough, and it just takes that athlete down to not wanting to, to never reaching their potential because they don't have good coaching. So, I would ask yourself that, do you have good coaching in your life? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Are you surrounding yourself with people that can build you up, and surround yourself with love?
Yeah. Well, love is the answer, isn't it?
I think so.
I also would like to challenge, if any parents are listening to this, how are you critiquing your children? Are you coaching them? Are you supporting them? Or are you criticizing them? Are you constantly telling them that's not good enough? Or I want you to think about this, because I work with a lot of kids. I'm a substance abuse counselor, so I work with a lot of abuse in more ways than one. And a lot of the clients I'm working with always say my father and my mother was so critical of me, and I didn't know what to do. By the time I was 10, 11, 12 years old, I'm walking around in my house on eggshells, and then this came along, a little weed or whatever came along, and poof, all the eggshells disappeared.
It does tend to start young, right?
Right.
Maybe it shows up later. And as Tim was saying, it's really, for us, it's really all about God being that, love, that core, that support, and, being able to be out in the world, but then go back to what God says about you. So I'm just going to end it by reading some things. There's an amazing book, The Armor of God, and in here she has a whole list of what God says about you, quoted by verse. And I'm just going to read some, because when I first read this, it was so powerful to me. It just wipes out all of the stuff that you may think, because this is what God says, and this is what's really, this is really the truth. A few of them are, I am a child of God, I have peace with God, I have access to God's wisdom, I am completely forgiven, I am tenderly loved by God, I am the sweet fragrance of Christ to God, I am a temple in which God dwells, I am blameless and beyond reproach. And my favorite, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength I need.
Amen.
So, I think that's really, if you're struggling, go with what God says about you, not all this other stuff, because it's really the key to building that core and that foundation and relationship. that's going to get you through any of this little stuff that really doesn't matter, because this is what God says, and that's the truth.
Amen. So what do we do?
Well, we keep on working on it because
Because
you're
we're
so worth it.